Rahman Rahim. This is the IT infrastructure, hardware and software, part 2. We have discussed in the part 1 regarding the components of IT infrastructure, and we are continuing that topic. And of course, one of the important component of the IT infrastructure is the hardware, and hardware includes uh, different types of hardwares uh, which we can be categorized in terms of the storage devices, the long-term storage devices, the short-term storage devices, input and output devices as well, and of course with the passage of time, there are lots of new devices are coming because we are dealing with various kinds of inputs. This slide covers some of the important input devices, but remember, these are not the only devices we have. There are other devices as well. So there are some advanced devices which include sensors. For example, we have biosensors where we can take input by using maybe the fingerprints, or sometime we have the iris recognition, or of course the facial recognition as well. There are systems which can take the input and we can transform that input into the respective signals. We used sophisticated scanners, OCR based systems, normally called as optical character recognition. So we have text and we just want to convert that text into the system. So there are various devices, touch screen as well, we use for various systems. So there are lots of input devices. Of course, whenever we have systems, we have different kinds of input devices which can be used or connected with our system. So output devices includes, of course, the printers, the monitors, and the audio output devices or video output devices, or printers of various kinds. Now we're talking about 3D printers as well, impact printers and non-impact printers, so on and so forth. I think this discussion you already had in your prerequisite course, so I will not go into detail of these devices. The other important contemporary hardware trends, which includes the emerging mobile digital platform. That mobile digital platform provides the organizations, the enterprises, and the businesses to have their applications running on smartphones or cell phones. Now, the organization, the customer, and the clients are connected through these mobile application to their businesses, or to perform their business transactions. Now we have there are many examples of it. For example, we have banking applications available on mobile platforms, so we can just go and transfer funds by using a mobile app, or uh, we can pay our utility bills through a mobile application. Another important or example which you can see is GIS based applications, which includes the Cream and Uber, where we just have application from which we can connect to the cab drivers, or we can have that cab and we can go to the destinations wherever we want to go. Uh, there are different kinds of other technologies which have emerged over the period of time, which include the nanotechnology. Nanotechnology is a very sophisticated technology. Still, there is a lot of research going on nanotechnology, and basically it is the creation of computer chips and the devices thousands of times smaller through manipulating individual items and molecules. This example photograph gives you a bit idea about nanotubes, which we cannot see by our naked eyes. And nanotubes are so tiny tubes that is about 10,000 or even more times thinner than a human hair. You can just imagine it. You can from the naked eye, it is difficult to see it. They consist of rolled up sheets of carbon hexagon, have potential uses as minuscule wires or in ultra small electronic devices and are very powerful conductor of electric current. Is the most powerful conductor, and therefore it is used for high computing activities, and sophisticated labs are being constructed. And now we are talking about such computing machines which have that power of computation, and of course this will help us to efficiently process our application, database applications, or computing based applications. Another important trend we have is the concept of virtualization. That virtualization, whenever we say a virtualization, it is in contrast with the realistic realism, or normally we call it the physical configuration or geographic location. So it's a process of what? Presenting a set of computing resources so they can be accessed in ways that are unrestricted by physical configuration or geographic location. So once we have that virtualization aspect, it means then the physical configuration is not really important. So what does it mean? It means, let's suppose we have a physical server. So on the same physical server, we may have multiple virtual servers. So actually it is one server, but there are multiple virtual servers running on that machines, which perform various different services to the users. Um, and of course, running more than one operating system at the same time on a single machine, and it can also manage various or different operating machines at the same time, and they can be used for different purposes. So that is really helpful for us to install various different virtual servers and virtual machines, and we can perform various different tasks. It can also be used for distributed computing as well. Cloud computing is a very important trend. Cloud. When I say the cloud computing, it means a model of computing in which firms and individuals obtain computing resources over the internet. So every organization and every enterprise does not have the capacity to have all those facilities at their end. So nowadays, people or organizations may refer to for various services to the internet, and there are organizations which basically gives you those services. When I say cloud, a cloud service can be given as an infrastructure. Normally we say infrastructure as a service. So there we have the complete infrastructure which is available. The cloud as a platform. So when it means if you may hire it as a platform, and platform as a service, or software as a service. So it's up to us that what type of services we require. We want to have all the applications running on to the cloud service provider site, or we just want to have data over there, data resides over there. So it's up to us that what type of services you are looking for. That is the organizational decision. That is the decision of the enterprise, that which solution seems better for them. Maybe an organization say that they don't need any kind of cloud services from the organization, so we have to manage ourselves. So it's the decision based on certain facts. But nowadays, the organization are mostly looking for those services. And that can be the clouds can be classified in terms of public and private clouds. The public clouds are those clouds which were available for everyone, you, me, and everyone, or any organization can use those public clouds. Public clouds normally have limitations, as we know, as we use Google Drive. So Google Drive is sort of a public cloud. What we do, we put all our files and data on it, which has a limited capacity, and we use that public cloud. Similarly, Amazon is a public cloud. But there are private clouds as well, and there are companies which are providing those services to business enterprises, and we look for those private clouds. And if we go for the private cloud, we have to pay for the services which we render. For example, an organization wants to put all the data and to the cloud side, and put that responsibility to the cloud side, that data must be secure and the services should be provided 24/7 to the clients. So we have to pay for it. Normally we say data rental service. Similarly, we use for utility computings or any other services which are not available, and we can just have on demand. Data storage security is in hands of the provider. So once we have that services, it means the security is now the responsibility of the provider. So that is why organizations opt for it instead of having their own systems and to invest a lot of money on this and to train people. Rather than doing this, they put that responsibility to the provider, and they think that it works good for them. Uh, the cloud computing platform can be observed in this diagram, and you can see that we have the platform services, we have the application services, and the infrastructure services. The platform services include the communication network. Of course, you don't have the network, so you want to utilize the network services of the provider, or you need the block storage, or you need identity management services or a content server. So all content is there on that particular platform. The application services, which includes the enterprise software, of course, the content management, collaboration environment, and process management. So the enterprise software include all those applications which you run on the business. For example, the customer management or the client management. So that is an application. So you are using that application on that site, which is there in the enterprise software. Or the content management, maybe whatever. For example, we are learning an online course. So all that content is there, which is being provided to any service which is given by the provider. For example, we are using that Moodle as well. So infrastructure services, the infrastructure services include the storage management. Of course, we need some time. Most of the time, the organizations are looking for the storage management system, so they don't want to have that data with themselves, or they don't want to take that responsibility. So what they do is that they look for the service by any provider, and they rent out it. Computing resource management, and of course the smartphones applications. So that is the overall cloud computing platform, and you see the people are connected with smartphones, with laptops. uh, there are servers, there are desktop machines, table computers, so on and so forth. So all these around that cloud means the connectivity. The user are connected to those clouds uh, using platform services, using application services, and infrastructure services based on the environment in which they are working. Green computing. Green computing is another important aspect, because whenever we talk about computing, there is a concept that what is the utilization of power or electricity, because if you are consuming too much electricity, it means we have to uh, look forward and to design such hardwares or software, so that we can reduce the power consumption, which because the more the power we consume, it will affect the world's greenhouse gases. So it is on the agenda of various organizations, that how we can go for power reduction. So that is the main theme of it. And the people are working on machines which can consume less and less power, and so that they can not affect the greenhouse gases. So computation, that is basically the concept of green computing. High performance and power saving processors. So we are in processing, of course, the capability of processors are being enhanced over a period of time. If you go back and see the history of the last 3, 4 or 5 decades, what happened is that with the passage of time, the technology is enhanced, the processing capability is enhanced, and the hardware is reduced or is shrinked. So we have now processors which are very much capable of processing applications, um, which involves higher computations. So the now we are using multi-core processors that are called integrated circuits, where there are two or more processors, enhance performance and reduce power consumption. So by doing so, what we did is that performance is enhanced, uh, and of course, at the same time, the power consumption is on the lower side. Power efficient processor, low power consumption essential in mobile computing, because if more power you will use, or more power you will consume, that is difficult for us to have computations using our smartphone application. So we need processor which consumes less power. Uh, the major types of softwares, which you have already discussed in your prerequisite course as well. Just I want to give you a brief of it. So we have the system software and the application software. So system software includes the operating system, of course, whatever the operating system is relevant with your applications or your enterprise software systems or your business applications uh, is relevant. For example, most of us are using Windows platform, but there are other platforms as well. People are using those various platforms such as Linux as well. The app, similarly, we have the Apple machines, which use the Mac platform. So application software. So we have various kinds of application software, which includes the software packages, application softwares, which include the general purpose application software or specific purpose application software as well. We have four generation languages, which are also called very high level languages, or where we can have where we can build programs and we can integrate to our systems and we can have solutions for our problems. So we have different productivity tools as well, and different other kinds of applications which we have for that purpose. Commonly, the general purpose application which we use is Microsoft Office, that is provide us the package of software which are general purpose softwares and are very useful in any office environment. People are using various specific softwares according to their own problem. For example, project managers using project-based applications, the engineer using services which can help them to make the designs, engineering designs. Similarly, we have application for different type of business applications. So we have two major categories of software. One is called the system software and application software. These are the examples of the operating system which we have already discussed, and for mobile operating systems, the Android, Chrome, or Internet operating systems, which are very much famous because we are using mobile-based applications a lot, and we have different mobile operating platforms as compared to PC operating systems. Uh, There are application programming languages as well, which includes Visual Basic or Visual C or C++ or different business languages, including COBOL. These are all called the application programming languages for businesses. And what we do, we can develop applications based on these languages. Fourth generation languages include software tools that enable end user to develop software applications. Uh, we can also build our own softwares. For that purpose, we need to have the understanding of fourth generation languages. If we have that understandings, or we know those languages, then we can use that to develop our own softwares. In this slide, there are the categories of the fourth generation languages, and those categories includes, as you see, different tools. You can see a query language. A query language, the example of famous query language is SQL, that is called structured query languages, that is being used to retrieve data from a relational database platform. So you can write a query and then you have the data. For example, you want to know how many items are there in the inventory. So that's the query. You run that query on that tool, and you can see the output. Graphics interfaces or languages display data in the graphic form. It's the same data. You want to visualize it, that what are the sales in the last month, or you want to compare the sales of first quarter to the next quarter, or 1 year to the next year. You can use that graphic platforms as well. Uh, you have the PC software tools that includes the general purpose application. For example, you want to have your own database, a small database. You can use Microsoft Access for that purpose, and you can build a small database which can solve your problems. Application software and the desktop productivity softwares packages and desktop productivity tools, which includes normally the word processing softwares which we use quite often, the spreadsheet softwares for the manipulation of the data. And if you want to data to be organized, then you need a data management software where you can have tables and you can manage the data, you can have the interface, and you can generate some sort of outputs as well. Then you need to have a presentation graphics. Of course, you want to present that data in different formats. For that purpose, you need to have some presentation tools so that you can display in terms of graphs, in terms of figures, in terms of waves, or whatever you want to have. The software suites, there are different business software suites which you can opt for. There are business suites as well, which means the combination of all related tools and applications. They're all bundled together. That is why it is called a suite. Web browsers, of course, you need to have those web browsers because you have to browse and you have to look for various applications across the network and across the machine. And for that purpose, you need to have various web browsers. This is an example of a spreadsheet application where you have a simple data. You will just want to see that how many units are being sold, what revenue you have generated, what is the fixed cost, what is the variable cost, and you will just want to have that information in a graphical format as well in the table format, and you can see instantly and try to determine that whether you have achieved the break-even point or not. So it is easy for you to understand it since you have that data in the graphical format, and you can realize that in how much time you will achieve the break-even if you continue in the same manner. But now, even apart from these spreadsheet softwares, the business enterprise application also have inbuilt graphic applications which can do the same task. There are various softwares for the web as well, which we use. Normally, we know about HTML, that is hypertext markup language, that is a page description language for specifying how element are placed on the web page, because we have want to represent our information on the web page and want to create links with other pages as well. So every organization has a website, so we need to organize in such a manner. So HTML is important. Also, XML, extended markup language as well. HTML5 is also the next evolution of HTML, enable multimedia embedding without third-party add-ons. So before that, it was not possible. We need a different platform. For example, we need to have a Java connectivity. So we have operating system independent, processor independent, object-oriented programming language, which can be used to build various applications, which can be integrated with your web-based applications to perform various application tasks. So different web services which are there, which include the software component that exchange information with one another using universal web communication standard and language. As I discussed earlier, that is called XML, Extensible Markup Language, which is the foundation of our web services. Service-oriented architectures, which includes the collection of all the services used to build an organization's software system. So if once we have that SOA available with us, so it means that we have all the services available and we can build such software systems. How dollar how dollar rent a car uses web service. So it's a model of a web service which is used to uh, uh, to rent a car, and you see that how it works. Then you can understand the connectivity of various components. Sorry. It includes the web services. In the center, you see there are web services. From this web services, the Southwest airline system is connected. Tour operating system is connected. Travel reservation system is connected, and wireless website is connected. The future business partner system is integrated with this web services, and there is a server which is integrating with the web server, and there is a legacy reservation system that is called dollar rent a car system. So a user is there who want to have that rent a car service that generates a query. The server pass on to that query to the web services that will check out with the tour operating system, with travel reservation system, with the Southwest airline reservation system, so on and so forth. And then that if that service is available, that can be arranged for that particular user. So that provide a standard intermediate layer of software to talk to other companies' information system. The other rent-a-car can use this set of web services to link other companies' information system without having to build a separate link to each one. So that really helps them to connectivity with all other stakeholders, which include various companies and organizations which are part of that service. So once that information is being asked, that connectivity provides to the various organization at the same time. So the software trends, we have various software trends, different types of machines which we use, different types of open source software which we use, for example, Linux and open source. When I say an open source, it means software which is available for everyone, and you can have the source code available for that particular application, and you can may have your own versions as well. The cloud-based services and tools, as I discussed earlier, there are mobile apps, there are mesh apps, and there are software as service. For example, we use Google Docs as well, which is another example of software service as a tool. Capacity planning, the process of predicting when hardware system becomes saturated. So we have to have a planning that, because whenever we have such hardware systems with ourselves, that will not last forever, because there is a problem that whenever we have the technology, the technology gets obsolete over a period of time. So we have to be careful whenever we are using such systems, that when that technology becomes saturated, so that we can decide before time. So ensuring firm has enough computing power for current and future trends. So we must understand that what type of data we are dealing with, what type of transactions we are dealing with, and if in the same manner we are dealing with those transactions, how much data will process in the next year or in the coming years, so that we can be capable enough to have such systems with ourselves which can handle a huge amount of transactions. Uh, the factors which are important is the maximum number of users we have, how many users we have, how many customers we have, how many clients we have, how our clients are increasing, how our users are increasing, what is the impact of current and future software, what is the impact. Of course, the impact can be studied while we are using such systems. We can see what is the impact, how many transactions now we are dealing with, uh, how how you believe that your system is improved over a time, how much revenue you have generated, and you can also talk about performance measures as well. That how much efficient your systems are right now, so that performance can be calculated, and of course that will help you to decide that whether you have to go for the updating the technology or you want to have a new technology in future. The scalability is the ability of the system to expand to serve large number of users without breaking down. The scalability is the important characteristic of any system, uh, because expansion is quite obvious. You must have expansions whenever you deploy such systems. The number of users always exceeds. So the scalability is the ability that system to expand to serve large number of users without breaking down. Because sometimes we have this problem when number of users increases, the performance gets down, the efficiency gets down. So that is not what we want to achieve. We want to achieve the best standards the available, and for that purpose, our systems must be scalable. Total cost of ownership model used to analyze direct and indirect cost to help determine the actual cost of owning a specific technology. That is one of the model which normally we use, that is called total cost of ownership model, TCO, which include the direct cost. Number one, direct cost means the direct cost which is involved to purchase the hardware, the software, and software as well. So that is called the direct. For example, you are looking for desktop machines in your offices. That is the direct cost. You are looking for the servers. That is the direct cost. You are looking for the network media for your networks. That is direct cost. You purchase the software required for your application. That is the direct cost. Indirect cost is the administration cost, upgrade, maintenance, technical support, training, utility, and real estate cost. These are indirect costs which are there. Of course, to run those systems, you need to have administration. So administration cost is there. Um, there is need to upgrades. You must have maintenance contracts or maintenance cost is there. You need technical support. You have to provide training to the individuals who are using those systems, to provide training to the users, so on and so forth. There are hidden costs as well, which is the support staff, the downtime, the additional network management. So there are other costs as well which may occur while you are having such system, which usually comes under the hidden cost. The TCO can be reduced through increased standardization of hardware and software resources. So how we can reduce the TCO? We can only reduce the TCO through increased standardization of hardware and software. So as we go for the standardization of the hardware and software, we can reduce that TCO, which will help us. Using technology service provider outsourcing, as we have discussed, use external providers to run networks. So you may have that opportunity that you may have asked the external companies or organization to run the network or host your website. So you don't want to host your own website, so just ask the resource provider that to manage that website, and you have to pay for it. To develop software, that is called offshore software outsourcing. So the companies want to develop an application or a software. What they do is they don't do themselves. What they do, they hire services for it, or they even go for offshore software outsourcing to ask the other company or the people to develop for it, manage IT infrastructure, and even you can ask organizations to manage your IT infrastructure. And for that purpose, you need to have SLAs, that is called service level agreements. Uh, Using cloud services, we have discussed this thing as well in the previous slide, so I don't want to repeat this. So you use the mobile platforms and use cloud services as well. Managing software localization for global business. Local language interface. English is not typically standard at middle or levels. Interfaces are complex. You use menu bars, error messages, online forms, search results, and so on. So we need to have local language interfaces as well, because we are dealing with the local business as well, and we have the connectivity with the global world. So there is importance of local languages as well. For example, in Pakistan, we are using Urdu language. Urdu is our national language. So if we are building such systems, so we have to provide the local language interface as well. Difference in local culture, that is also a part of it when we are dealing it. So we have different cultures. So in a global environment, whenever you connect, of course, that is one of the issue which you have to consider. Differences in business processes. So we might have different business processes. One organization deal it differently, the other organization deal it differently. There are different universities in the same city, but they have different business processes. They have their own automations. So the difference is there. We have to live with that difference. All of these factors add to TCO of using technology service providers. So all these factors are relevant with our TCO model for using technology service provider. With this, I conclude this lecture over here, and thank you very much. I hope that you have the understanding of this lecture, and if you have any queries, please let me know. Thank you.